your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
I know Kung Fu. You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Do we even need to do a recommendation section for this?
Probably not.
No, I mean, like, come on, it's Ong Bak.
yeah, it's pretty well known for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I haven't seen this movie in maybe over 20 years.
No.
Is it-
It hasn't been 20 years.
Okay, so I haven't seen
Almost,
this
it's like
movie in
17
over
now.
30 years. I haven't seen this movie since college when it first came out for me.
Okay.
I saw it maybe like 2 to 3 to 4 times there.
Right, but it was right around when it released, right?
Right when it came out,
Yeah.
at least to this, not to the States.
Mm-hmm.
When it came out, I went to Chinatown and I immediately bought the Hong Kong DVD
Okay.
and watched it and just absolutely loved it.
You got the Hong Kong DVD. Ooh, okay, so we can... Well, I guess we can kind of lightly tackle that subject of, like, you saw one particular version of the movie then, right? Where they censored the bone cracking. Not to jump ahead, but, you know.
Right. I believe so it's been so long. I believe that the bone cracking was in my version, but I didn't see the sister backstory.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like we're all just going to do show and tell and, like, revealing our personal connection to this movie. Because, you know, it's fucking Ong Bak.
Oh, thanks for asking, Will. So,
No, go ahead. Steal the soapbox.
no, I literally just
No.
I had the DVD, and then I was an idiot. I think I might have given it away.
Boo.
I know.
Do you know what version you had?
Whatever the English American
So it was English,
version.
right?
Yeah.
So you probably had the U.S. version then.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're covering the U.S. version today because, you know, I mean, it's the most accessible for us being Americans.
America.
But, you know, I do want to lightly tackle the subject that this movie had several versions, and depending where you were, not only do you get cut scenes, cut subplots, including the sister elements in the movie, there's also, like, different scores, different soundtracks depending where you are. I like the Vietnamese title of this movie. It's literally Ong Bak going to save Buddha's head. Like, it's so literal.
Oh man. So it's been a while since I've seen this movie, and I kind of remember a lot of the things from when I first saw it. The subtitles were so much different when I watched it now than when I watched the Chinese.
Was it Chinglish? Was it, like, just
So-
broken up Chinese?
And I thought this was maybe
English?
some sort of weird translation, but apparently it's correct. I looked it up after watching the movie. So the kind of comic relief, kind of douchey character that he meets when he goes to Bangkok, he's a kind of a chubbier guy. He's got the blonde hair.
Yep.
Humle, I believe his name is.
Yeah. Or
So-
George.
Or George. Well, George is his, like, fake name. Humle is his real name. So when I watched this, Tony Jaa's character kept on calling him Dirty Balls.
Oh, really?
And that was in the subtitles. And
Okay.
I always thought that was just so weird. And then when I watched this, he calls him Humle. And then when I looked it up, Humle means dirty balls. And I was like, oh, this is so odd that my version of the DVD had the direct translation of, like, what he was calling
So
them.
what does Tony Jaa mean in Thai? It's like hung balls. I don't know. Really quickly, just to, you know, talk about the whole Tony Jaa legacy. Yeah, like, I saw it when it first came out too. I also got the DVD, you know, but I don't know which version I had because my version had the sister subplot. So I probably had the same version as you did, but there's so many versions out there. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to describe which one's the best viewing experience for this.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you got to go with the one that Tony Jaa actually owns. That copy. We have to find out. What's his
So the
address?
original Thai?
Let's go.
Somewhere Bangkok. I don't know. Yeah. So it's fucking Ong Bak. I don't even know how we can tackle every subject with this. Of course, we'll talk about the action, but fuck, even MMA fighters, like legit fighters who do this for a living, reference this movie. It's one of those films that straddles the line between like stylistic action choreography and kind of being relatively realistic and showing. And I mean, you can't deny the fact that this movie brought Muay Thai into the limelight.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, there really wasn't an international Thai film industry at the time, right?
I remember watching this, and I've never heard of. I mean, I've heard of Thailand. I've never heard the Thai language before, though. So I didn't know it was a Thai film. So I remember just watching it and thinking, like, I was like, what country? Like, I didn't know. I assumed Southeast Asian, obviously, but I was just so, I was never exposed to Thai anything before. Yeah. So it was just very, very surprising to see this. And yeah, I was like, wow, okay. I have my eye on this film industry now.
Yeah, shit.
It kind of had its own like little mark in history for being one of the most realistic, like you were saying. Well, and then just it was a turning point. I think
I was just gonna say that.
Like aside from Muay Thai, aside from Thai film industry on like the international stage, and all of that, just in general, I think this is a weird comparison, but like if we're talking about movies that made an impact, and I'm just going to use this. I know you're going to hate this, Will.
But like, what's Sister Sensei again?
No. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, there you go. That's the face that I wanted.
Matt, you guys can talk about this.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying like, it's a pivotal movie in its own kind of space, in its own like little world, its own ecosystem. That was true for Crouching Tiger, for the Western world. Stop making faces. And then for this was for like realism, for Thai boxing or Muay Thai, for a lot of like approaches to directing and like styles of
for fight choreography. You mean
fight choreography, but also for directing, for actual
sure. Yeah.
For cinematography. There were a lot of like different little like I think this movie was very pivotal in a lot of different like spaces throughout the film industry. Sure.
I mean, I don't just elaborate on that. Yeah, I think Ong Bak has a big influence on action cinema. Period. I mean, for one, all the hits on screen are convincing because for 99% of it, it's actually real impact. I mean, yeah, there are ways of cheating it to make it seem, so make it that they keep the performer safe, but it's not much. It's like, oh, we're just gonna soften the shoe. We're just gonna put a lot of socks on, or like make sure that Tony Jaa is gonna be wearing the thickest layer of soft sneakers that he can, but he's still kicking people full force, doing 3 spins in the air and smacking him in the face.
Really taking it from the Jackie Chan playbook.
I mean, I love Jackie, but I mean, I feel like this kind of ups the ante even more.
Yeah. Well, it definitely does, because if you think about it, when this movie came out, I feel that Jackie was starting to get into the American films. So his stuff was getting, I don't want to say watered down. That's not fair. Like, that's fair though. He was getting Americanized because that's how American directors were treating him and his action. So his stuff wasn't, it wasn't raising the bar anymore. And then here comes Tony Jaa, where sure, Jackie Chan has always said like, he's doing all his own stunts, He never said no wires, but he never did wire fu. Yeah. This is all no stunts and no wires in the fact
CG.
No CG.
Almost, yeah.
No wires in the fact that no one is getting pulled to make it exaggerated. So when people are getting hit, this is how a person really falls when they get hit. Like they don't go flying. Yep. You can see the impact, and it's moving a little bit, but you feel how real it is.
And if you want the impact, they're just like, oh well, we're gonna drop you off of a tree.
Yeah,
like
right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost weird how fantastical the movie can be. And I mean that's a weird way to phrase it, but I mean you don't see a lot of real world hits in movie form. So like when you expect someone to get punched, you kind of expect them to fly like 20 feet across the room like a Jackie film, because there's ropes and wires being pulling them across. But like it's something freakish about the fact that like that one knee and elbow combination will make a person just drop right on their spot. Yeah. Like that's like you feel the impact of that more. Does that make any sense? It's like it feels more realistic, so it hurts more. Primal. That's a good way to describe it.
Because it's you literally subconsciously what that feels and what that looks like, even though maybe you've never seen it. But once you see it, you're like, I know exactly what that is.
Right. And
whereas the Jackie thing, it's like, okay, it's meant to be exaggerated, and it's more like fantasy, a little that esque quality where it's like, okay, we're gonna put a little fun spin on it, this like stylistic approach to it. But this is just pure fucking primal beatdown all the way through.
Right. And with Jackie Chan films, he's framing things in a way where his hits look brutal, but he's not always necessarily hitting the stuntman. In Ong Bak, you can clearly see they are hitting each other in the face, and taking full blows to the body. It's extremely brutal.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
Watching this again, I don't remember my first reactions when I first watched this. I remember like
when you were younger.
Yeah. But I remember watching this last night, and I was laughing, but not like laughing at it. It's like, you know when you laugh when you're so happy because you see something so surprising? Yeah. I was just like, oh my God, that's great.
This movie is like Christmas all over again.
It's Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh man. And it's okay, maybe it would be a little unfair for most movies to be like, oh, let's just immediately talk about Jackie because Jackie did it best. But like even Tony Jaa himself, like he set himself this almost unattainable goal at first. Be like, I grew up with Jackie. Like I'm not only gonna try to best Jackie because that was his aspiration.
Oh yeah, he said that.
He said that multiple times. Like I grew up with Jackie. Like I want my action to be even better than him. So like there's a competition element to it for him as well. But also he wants to jumpstart the Thai film industry, the Thai action film industry.
Very
and it
big
fucking
aspirations.
Worked.
Yeah,
and it worked. Holy cow! I mean, now we have movies like Chocolate, which we'll eventually talk about that, which is great. We have a whole slew of Thai action films that came as a result of this. So, fuck yeah, this is. I don't know how we're going to talk about everything for this film.
Will, would you say that he actually did better than Jackie? In like, well, your opinion. Action. Did he do better in any field better than Jackie overall?
I think they all. I'm gonna be a politician here, and I'm gonna say that they're very different because Jackie's style has always been comedy first, action second, or maybe like not like a far first and second place, but like it's closer than you'd think. But for Tony Jaa, I noticed that his direction has always been more towards like brutal realism rather than comedy, because he's not really
there's nothing really funny going on in this movie. It's funny because for me, I wasn't expecting these people to go down so hard, so it's like that knee-jerk reaction, like, oh God, he's down. like after that one hit when he's first introduced to the Fight Club, he just knees that guy in the upper torso and just goes down like a rock. But see, that's a moment where they do play it for comedy. They milk it, The audience goes quiet. You get to get the different reactions. It's great.
Yeah, but you don't. He's not like he doesn't have like physical. That's a weird way to describe it. He's not known for his like facial expressions after he does the comedic moment, right? Like not like Jackie.
That was a comedic moment. All in all, though, it's not there's no comedy in this movie.
Well, I mean, we have the sleaze bag, like you mentioned before.
Right. I wouldn't say he's funny though. I hated it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here's a weird comparison because the way you said that, it makes me think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, in the sense where Tony Jaa and Arnold Schwarzenegger are very similar in the way that they are both action stars and they're great at what they do, But when it comes to pure acting chops in terms of facial expression and expressing maybe body language, and I don't mean it in the most literal sense of like fighting, because this is what we're talking about, but I'm talking about like just body language, about like showing emotion and drama. They're not the best.
That's a pretty interesting way of taking it. I think Arnold has gotten better over the years as an actor.
Agreed.
But like maybe in
Timeline wise, you have to compare.
In his 80s and 90s, nobody cared if he could act. It was just like, deliver the one-liners, just be a beefcake. You're a 90s action movie star.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned you could use anyone in that role. It was like better Arnold than Tommy Wiseau.
No. Because like Arnold got these roles that just everybody knows him from, and the same thing with Tony Jaa. It's just like a better comparison.
Well, on that topic,
Tommy Wiseau is just weirdo.
Yeah. On that topic, I guess it really wouldn't matter if we talk about the plot for this. So we can kind of just really briefly say the movie is called Ong Bak. Apparently that means the Buddha's head. So Tony Jaa is going to retrieve the Buddha's head. That's all you need to know.
It gets stolen from his village. He goes to Bangkok to get it back.
And he fights people.
Yeah.
And you literally could just watch the fight scenes on YouTube. Yeah. My opinion. Maybe you guys disagree. But you can also have a fun time watching the movie.
Wow, recommendations already? Well,
I already said this. I prefaced it in the very beginning. Come on. Like, how can you not recommend it right off the bat?
Agreed. Even just watch the movie, because the whole movie is pretty much fight scenes. Just watch the whole movie. That's it.
The whole movie is tons of action.
If you really can't wait for the fight scenes, then sure, YouTube it. But there aren't so many dead spaces of plot where you're like, you're getting fidgety because you want someone to fight. Like, eventually people will fight. So you can sit through the movie.
I mean, I have my moments where I didn't care for the action. Like, for example, I'm not a fan of the car chase scene when they're in the 3-wheel taxis.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't care for those scenes in general.
Oh, but man, that movie has one of the most hilarious explosions I've ever seen.
We're talking about the car. Oh, man. Okay. Well, we're talking about the end of that, where there's like a cart in midair, and then all the carts stockpiled underneath it explode. Yeah.
But, while it's flying up in the air, it's spinning. All literally what you just said. Yeah, the cars underneath explode. But there's something so visually hilarious about that. The fact that you see the dummy very briefly while it's spinning in the air. I burst out laughing at that scene. It was great.
Oh man!
Cue the Monty Python music.
Monty Python. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what the plot is. You can still have a good time. Just fucking go watch it. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Like, I don't know how to stress that enough. And I can't stress enough how much the legacy of this movie, really sticks with you. I was telling Zero before this, Anderson Silva, one of the goats of UFC. The dude watched Ong Bak, and he liked Tony Jaa's reverse elbow so much that he incorporated it in his movie, knocked the guy out. But everyone was telling him, like, that's not realistic. You can't do that. And he somehow incorporated it. And it's all thanks to this one little movie that blew up and became this legend. Yeah. Shit. Fucking Ong Bak.
Yeah. I was really worried going into this, actually, because I remember liking it a lot. I mean, for obvious reasons, I loved it a lot.
Do you think it lives up to your memories?
Yes. Oh, most definitely. I was very worried watching it, but then sitting down, once we started getting into fights and getting, breezing past the plot, I was like, oh, thank God, it's still really good. I was like, oh, thank God. Because you know what? When I watched this in college, obviously, I wasn't watching martial arts films the way we do now, where I'm meticulously going back and I'm looking at fight choreography. I'm looking at camera angles and edits and whatnot. So when I watched it as a kid, it was, hey, that's awesome. That's really cool. He's hitting people in the face. Now I'm watching it now. I'm looking at cuts. I'm looking at...
Yay, violence.
And it holds up. It holds up. If you haven't seen it in a long time, over 30 years like myself, then I highly recommend watching it again, and
I
it
think
will
Tony
still
Jaa
hold
was
up.
still a sperm at the time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts. So Mark is gone, but that's okay, because we heard his recommendation because I said his recommendation. So we're good. Yeah, we have skipped the plot, but that's not the point of the movie. You are here because it is one of the pinnacles of action.
Yeah, I would.
Is that
definitely
an
say.
exaggeration?
I mentioned earlier, I think milestone is a very appropriate word. Yes, there are movies that have done like brutal hits to the face, as I did say earlier, like I saw in Eastern Condors.
Yep.
But this movie just they really realized that they needed to make a mark. They knew what they were doing. Unfortunately, those poor Thai stuntmen had to suffer for this, but this has cemented itself in movie history. Even if you don't watch martial arts movies, like I think a lot of people do realize that this was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many references to this movie in different industries. Like I mentioned before, UFC, MMA. You have like like all these action stars who have utilized Tony Jaa's moves. Like again, Scott Adkins, like we said before, and I feel like there's like a whole wave of action movies that have directly and indirectly borrowed influence from this movie. Like I actually don't think the Raid movies would be a thing if it weren't for Ong Bak, because they like that's another milestone in my opinion in terms of action. But Ong Bak is the predecessor for that in terms of like what you can show and what you can be physically capable of in action cinema. Fuck yeah! Like it doesn't matter if you're a martial arts enthusiast or not. Like if you like action at all, you need to watch this. That's it. I don't even think that's an opinion thing. You just need to watch the film.
Yeah, this is like mandatory reading, mandatory watching. And I will say, you pointed out his name earlier, Panna
Riti Cry?
Riti Cry?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't know Thai.
Yeah, sorry. But he's the action choreographer for Tony Jaa on his major films. Unfortunately, he passed away. But man, like he did this. He worked. I believe he worked.
He was on Tom Yong-gun.
Tom Yong-gun. He did.
Was he in Chocolate? No, I'm not sure.
I think the director of this movie did Chocolate.
Oh,
so
okay.
I can't
Director.
remember.
Okay.
But I believe he did a awesome Thai stunt film, Born to Fight. I really want to show you guys that. That one's great. That one's more of the crazy stunt work.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, I would really love to show you guys.
Yeah, I was gonna ask in the beginning of this, but I forgot. But after watching Tom Yong-gun and in this movie, I was curious about Panna Riti Crai's other works because apparently Tony Jaa. I mean, prior to Ong Bak, like there's the industry was kind of comparatively fledgling, so there's only so many people he can work with. So he was like, he looked up to Prana and wanted to really work with him. So I was very curious and like what made Tony Jaa feel that way. It's like is there anything preceding Ong Bak that we should watch? And anyone who's listening who
Born to Fight.
Born to Fight preceded that? Oh
yes, it did.
I thought it was
that's
after.
why. Yeah, I want to show you guys that. It's I believe he's in it actually as well.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
I believe so. I could be wrong. Sorry, but I'll show you guys that film. Even if we don't talk about it, like just to show you, it's like it's basically 90 minutes of people like beating each other up.
So Ong Bak.
Yeah.
It's Ong Bak again.
No, but this is like it's like almost the whole movie. That's
fantastic.
It's insane how much damage there is going on to bodies in that movie.
Just my way of closing this off is I want to put myself back into early 2000s. I don't know how this movie was discovered. Like
This was early internet, so that's how I found out about it. I was on forums.
Do you think someone just like? I mean, it's always hard to pinpoint who contributed to what, right? But obviously they wanted to make the next best thing. But maybe just some guy, just one dude walking into a video store is like, "Oh, what's this?" And then he picked it up. Like,
well, I mean,
holy shit.
there is distribution.
Sure.
This did well in Thailand. They knew what they had,
Right.
And I think it got lucky. There was a lot of word of mouth because of the martial arts community. I found out through it from forums because people are like, "You got to watch this. This is the next thing." And,
right.
And I saw it. I was like, "Yes, you're absolutely right."
But for me, it's word of mouth, as with everyone. And like distribution can only do so much, right? Especially when you break.
Right.
If you are the first, this is a landmark movie, right? So the first of anything is always a gamble.
Yes.
So like, who knew that this would be the one to set the stage for Thai cinema? Mm-hmm. And not to say that every Thai film needs to be Ong Bak, but just saying like that it kind of jump started a lot of like what we eventually expect to see from both Thai movies and also action cinema. Mm-hmm. Fuck, it's kind of weird because it's weird to be incredibly negative to a movie, but it's also weird to be entirely positive about a movie. But for this, I really don't know how I can be negative about it. It's well,
I mean, the story, it's forgettable. It is what it is.
But you're not here for the story,
exactly.
So it doesn't matter.
The story is extremely serviceable to get Tony Jaa to beat up everyone.
Yeah,
and that's completely fine. I don't care about any of these characters. If anything, I kind of care about Tony Jaa a little bit, but not really. Like, there's a moment where all of the villagers are giving him his money to go on this quest to get the Ong Bak, and I thought that was kind of nice because it was all the the sad old people of the village. They were really, really trying to drive it home that if they didn't get the head of Buddha back, like, they would just be done. Right, it would be the end for them. So I kind of thought that was nice. But then after that, it's just like the Tony Jaa show, and he's kicking everyone's ass.
But that's what you want.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Yeah. So sometimes you want sometimes you want character.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's really great fights, and we mentioned this before, like for Ip Man, for example. Like, some of those fights are extremely character motivated and plot motivated, where the fights are elevated because you really want him to win.
Right.
In this, it's like I didn't want him to win, but it was satisfying that he did win.
Yeah. Well, also he's the star, but also like he's capable of a lot of things on screen. So I just want him to win because he can show off what he's capable of.
Yeah. So the plot's serviceable. It needs to show off the action star's prowess.
I think at some certain point in my life, I was like, "Oh, Ong Bak's not that great," but only because I was like a moody teenager who needed to be like defiant. But it's hard to deny. This movie's
it's one of those films.
great.
Like, yeah, sure, you can nitpick a lot about it, and for me, if I were to nitpick, like, and I would say like it needed better lighting, or at least they needed to not do that color grading and that lighting in post that made everything so dark. Maybe some of the cinematography could have been cleaned up a little bit. We did see some digital not zooming, like panning to fix the centering at moments, but it's fine. Like, I understand this is a Thai production. They were trying to, as you said it before, jumpstart their film industry. So that kind of stuff's forgivable.
Yeah. I'm not at all trying to end this on a negative note. Movie's fantastic.
Yes.
I don't just listen to the last 2 hours that we were just gushing about this movie. You'll know what we mean. We fucking love this. But to end this off, do you think that viral marketing that the movie makers did within the film actually paid off in the end when they painted Luc Besson, will you work with us now inside the film? Because what ended up happening was Luc Besson actually
Like his production, his distributing company bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that actually worked?
I mean, it's cute. Well, you know what it is. Like, I don't think they needed it.
Do you
honestly.
think that they picked up the rights to it because they saw that? Like, oh, that's cute.
You know what? I think when people saw this movie, I think people were scrambling for the rights. As you mentioned to me before we started speaking about this, you saw that little tidbit about Steven Seagal wanting to pick this up.
We should end with that.
Yeah.
So Steven Seagal's like, oh, I love this movie. I want to be part of this. I want to distribute this movie. However, my caveat is I want an extra scene where I am, where it establishes that I am Tony Jaa's teacher. Fucking Steven Seagal's way of saying I am impressed by your work is by saying I'm so happy for you. I'm so impressed, but I need to do better than you. Yeah. I have to be better than you in some way.
More like I'm congratulating you on all you've done. Now I just need to take credit for it.